Another film I watched last week that came out in Netflix is Charlie Kaufman's I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Charlie Kaufman, the original sad boy of screenwriting in the 21st century, has come with his third directional film. Now, Charlie Kaufman, I think most people agree, is somewhat of a very imaginative, brilliant, and neurotic screenwriter. You know, he taps into some of the deepest fears, anxieties that trouble us, and really hones in on them like no other screenwriter is as committed to. Now, some of his films are absolutely brilliant when he's just writing them. Films like Being John Malkovich and Adaptation and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. When you have a filmmaker heralding his script, it can make some of the most sad but poignant films you'll ever see. But his directing, for the longest time, left a lot to be desired. Synecdoche, New York, I know there's some people who are out there who think that's, one of the best films of all time. I don't quite think it is, as it's his first directing job, and there's a lot of tonal issues in that film. There's some scenes that I'm not too sure whether I'm meant to find funny or cry at, because he juggles these scenes so closely together that it's hard to read his intent, and not in a very ambiguous way either. It's just I just didn't think he knew what he was doing behind the camera to match his far-reaching concepts in that film. But he's been out of the picture in Hollywood for a long time, as he simply couldn't get any funding, which is very sad. I can see why, because he is a very neurotic, nihilistic screenwriter that only appeals to a very small portion of the audience. But luckily, one of the benefits of Netflix is giving these guys and misfits, or even established legends who want to do these crazy, weird, epic, big, small films, the platform to do it on them. And therefore, this film was released on that platform, which I'm very happy about. Now, I'm glad to say from a directing standpoint, he's improved a lot. I don't know if he's committed to hone his craft, or he's watched a bunch of other films, or what's happened. But this film has a directional and stylistic voice that just was not in his other directing efforts. The 4x3, the claustrophobic framing, the use of the cold, frosty weather, the pacing of each shot, and in the edit he lets shots breathe a lot more. The film is a lot better lit, and there's a very thick atmosphere established just through the framing and visuals that just was not the case in his former directional efforts. And he's also improved a lot with his actors. Every single member of the cast here is really going for it and giving very naked performances. Also, the tone is strong throughout. There's definitely elements of psychological horror akin to something like The Shining here that he peppers in and is very, very effective. But also his humour is very distinguishable from the horror element, and there's some very generally black comedic moments that are somewhat hilarious, which is a huge improvement on Synecdoche, New York, in my opinion. How the film deals with fabricated memories and, longing for missed opportunities, which has all been, motifs, and individuality, has all been motifs in pretty much all his work. But with this, he's adapting from a book. And sometimes in the script, in the more weaker aspect of the film, I feel like he's wrestling the source material a bit too much. As that book, from what I understand it, is a straight-up horror, where this is only kind of flirting with that genre. And sometimes, from what I understand from the book, and I've read the plot of the book, I feel like a more committed horror genre filmmaker could have took this film and pushed it in the direction where I think the material needed to go. As the third act is a very puzzling, somewhat unsatisfactory ending, which some might argue might be the point. But the film builds up beautifully up until the last, I'd say, 30 minutes. And the twist or the message of the film, when you break it down, isn't all that profound, and the way it's handled doesn't hit me emotionally as I maybe wanted to. Right after the film, I kind of went to the book's ending, and I feel like the book's ending might have been a bit more appropriate and much more of a gut punch. Again, it's hard to talk about this film without spoilers, but I still recommend it, as the first half of the film I thought I was in for his defining work. There's a scene which is in the posters and in the trailer of the two young couple meeting with the parents, and the amount of discomfort that he gets out of that scene is so anxiety-inducing and so unsettling that I thought I was in for potentially film of the year. But right after the first half, there's this long car ride that I see the screenwriter talking through the characters, stop behaving as individuals. It's just the screenwriter's voice pouring through their dialogue, and that kind of takes me out the film sometimes, as I stop believing I'm watching characters in this fictional world and I just see the screenwriter's words coming out of actors' mouths, which kind of took me out of it, and didn't fully recover really after that point. Certainly not bad in the second half, but it does not compare to how fully realised the first half is. But I hope Charlie Kaufman still gets to make films, as he's a very compelling voice that I think needs to be heard, and taps into anxieties of individuality and mortality that not many other filmmakers do. I'm hoping to see a lot more from him, and hopefully Netflix is the platform to do it.